Nothing I have ever read has upended my life more than a short exchange between Jesus and a stranger. Consider yourself warned. The stranger asked Jesus to resolve an inheritance dispute between himself and his brother. Jesus is wise and objective, and the man just wants a fair judgment. But instead of weighing in on the dispute, Jesus offers a stern warning. Beware, he says, guard against every kind of greed. Life is not measured by how much you own. All the trouble started for me when I found myself asking a question about this story. How could this be greed? It seems like a reasonable request. We all basically agree that there's some amount of money it's reasonable to want and fine to acquire. We also mostly agree that if you're buying $1,000 white t-shirts while employing kids in sweatshops, or scamming grandma with a claim she's about to be arrested for an unpaid parking ticket, something is very wrong with you. Now, I don't know anyone who approves of greed, but I also don't know anyone who believes they're personally implicated by it. I remember sitting with a couple in their newly constructed summer home, eating steak and drinking wine, while they puzzled over who the wealthy locals were that they kept hearing other people talk about. They couldn't come up with a single theory. I can't be greedy. I'm normal. I'm too poor to qualify. Or I'm frugal, or I just practice smart business. I'm just asking for my fair share. But Jesus says guard against every kind of greed. Like there were more flavors of greed than Reese's Cups. Well, if not all greed looks like Scrooge McDuck swimming in an ocean of cash, then what other kinds are there? And how could this man, with his simple request, be in danger of one? Jesus answers these questions by telling a story. A generally successful farmer has had a really bumper year. With a perfect blend of sun and rain, all the crops grow like zucchini. The trouble is, the other farmers got that sun and rain too, which means all the local fields are producing and the prices are going down. So this savvy farmer decides to build bigger barns and store his crops until the villagers are hungrier and willing to pay more. When the barns are up, he says to himself, "This was genius, me. Time to buy a recliner, take a cruise, and maybe write my first Bethlehem Times bestseller." As a portrait of greed, there's something strange about this story, at least to most of us. There's no scammer or billionaire CEO. There's just a normal guy who a lot of us know, who's put in the work, made the smart investments, and reaped the rewards. He sounds more like an inspiration than a cautionary tale. But Jesus' very hot take on this man is that he is a fool who's made a very profound and costly miscalculation. In this farmer's head, from start to finish, this bumper crop belongs to him. It's the product of his smarts. Nothing owed to the one who sent the sun and rain and kept the bugs away. His only goal is maximizing the price. It doesn't cross his mind to calculate the cost to the hungry villagers, or to factor in the impact on his relationships. It certainly doesn't occur to him that there might be any purpose or intent for this surplus beyond his own comfort and lifestyle improvements. Greed, as Jesus defines it, isn't about legalities. It's not a matter of crossing some arbitrary line in what we're allowed to have. Greed is an orientation toward money and other people and ultimately life itself. Greed is a life with no higher aim than simply filling up the barns. Greed is assuming that every surplus that touches our hands is intended for us. Greed is hoarding what's meant to be spent. Greed is assuming personal credit for what comes in large part as gift. Greed is financial planning that takes into account everything except God and the people next door. And by this definition, anyone can fall into greed, no matter how much or little they have. Anyone can get caught in an endless race for more. Anyone can value their square footage over their relationships. And as Jesus put it, anyone can start to confuse their actual life with the balance of their accounts. This is Jesus' warning to a man obsessing over his inheritance. The question that matters most isn't what's fair. The question is whether the money has come to matter more than the relationship with his brother. The question is whether the pursuit of property has become a consuming preoccupation, squeezing out any greater purpose for his life. I've never been rich by American standards, but I've discovered firsthand how easy it is to confuse your life with your possessions, to trade in your story for stuff. The pressure to meet certain lifestyle markers, to pay for iced coffee, keep up with fashion, upgrade your car, or have a garage, it can constrain your choices and start to shrink down your life. And when you experience a bumper year, the first thing your brain tends to say is, great, time to take that vacation and sleep better, knowing I've got a lot in the barn. This is just common sense to everyone but Jesus. Jesus offers us uncommon wisdom. He says, think carefully before you build. Bigger barns do not make a life, but they can definitely steal one. Your life and many other lives besides. Let's hear what Jesus has to say in Luke 12, verses 13 to 21. Then someone called from the crowd, Teacher, please tell my brother to divide our father's estate with me. Jesus replied, Friend, who has made me a judge over you to decide such things as that? Then he said, Beware. Guard against every kind of greed. Life is not measured by how much you own. Then he told them a story. A rich man had a fertile farm that produced fine crops. He said to himself, What should I do? I don't have room for all my crops. Then he said, I know, I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. Then I'll have room enough to store my wheat and other goods. And I'll sit back and say to myself, My friend, you have stored away for years to come. Now take it easy. Eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, You fool, you will die this very night, and then who will get everything you've worked for? Yes, a person is a fool to store up earthly wealth, but not have a rich relationship with God. I'm Meghan Good, and this has been Reading Jesus. Thanks so much for joining me for a few minutes in Luke, and I'll see you next time.